Launch code. Access granted.
Hello, welcome to GD exam preparation class. I am your host and instructor, Ruben Herrera. And in this video, my friends, we're going to continue with our lessons for reasoning through language arts from your GD exam. And the topic for today, or the lesson for today, is going to be writing effective sentences. So let's get started. So the first thing that I have, my friends, I want to talk about simple sentences, okay? So here is what I have. A complete simple sentence has at least one subject and one verb. The subject is the person, place, or thing that the sentence is talking about. The subject performs an action or is described. The verb is the word that tells what action the subject is doing. For example, I have this sentence right here. It says, Elaine took notes on the meeting. In the case of this sentence, for example, Elaine is the subject and took is the verb. Okay. Another easier way for me to be able to tell what is a sentence is that a sentence is a complete thought. A complete thought that will not give you room for a question. For example, this is a complete thought. Elaine took notes on the meeting. If I was just to say, for example, Elaine took, okay, Elaine took, okay, Elaine took what? Okay, that's not a complete thought. Therefore, that's not a complete sentence. If I was to say, for example, also notes on the meeting, okay, notes on the meeting. Okay, what kind of notes on what kind of meeting? Okay, so you see that is also not a complete thought. So therefore, that is not a complete sentence. Okay, so whenever we see text, my friends, and we see a line which is a complete thought, okay, that is called a sentence or a simple sentence. And whenever it is not a sentence, when it's not a sentence, that text is not a sentence, it is called a phrase. Okay, so a phrase is an incomplete thought. However, there are some very famous phrases that people can relate to. For example, I have a dream. That's a very famous phrase. Very good. Now that we know what is a simple sentence, which is a complete thought, let us move into our next topic. My next topic is compound and complex sentences. Okay, so this is what I have. A simple sentence is also called an independent clause. You can join two or more independent clauses in one compound sentence. For example, Sam saw a design flaw. He wrote a memo. So if you notice right here, our compound sentence is made by two independent clause or two simple sentences. Okay, and they are both divided by one period in the middle. Okay, so that's what we call a compound sentence. Is when you have two simple sentences or two independent clauses put together. Okay, now next, in the other hand, a complex sentence is made up of a independent clause and a subordinated clause. For example, the teachers went on a strike, comma, because their pay was too low. So a complex sentence, in other words, is always made of a independent clause and a subordinated clause. What is a subordinated clause? A subordinated clause, my friends, is a sentence that is kind of like incomplete. It kind of like needs the help of another previous sentence or clause in order for it to make sense. So for example, our first sentence is an independent clause or independent sentence, whichever way you want to call it, but at this point now they're called clause. Teachers went on a strike. Okay, so we know that, very good. But now on the second sentence, notice that that's a subordinate clause because it needs the first sentence in order for it to make sense. Now we have on the second part of this complex sentence, we have because their pay was too low. Okay, if we were just to say all of a sudden, hey guys, because their pay was too low, you'll be like, what? Whose pay? Well, everybody's pay? Well, no, the teachers, and that's what they went on a strike. So this is what we call a complex sentence, in other words, or in a few words. It's made by a independent clause and a subordinated clause. Very good. Let us move on into our next topics. For our next topic, I have run-ons and comma splices. Okay, so run-ons are two errors people commonly make when they join independent clauses to form a sentence. The first type of error is called a run-on. In a run-on, two independent clauses are combined without proper punctuation. That is the punctuation, my friends, that goes in the middle or in between those two clauses. Remember, we need to have either a comma, a period, or a semicolon. Okay. Now you might be questioning, well, when do we use which? Okay. Okay, so we use a comma to divide things. We use a period to start a different sentence or a different thought. And we use semicolon to start another sentence but with an opposite thought or with an opposite opinion. Okay? So we have to make sure in the first error that we divide that when we divide two, or when we combine, I should say, two independent clauses, make sure that we use the proper punctuation. Some people don't use punctuation at all. Okay, and that's when it comes to our second error. Our second error is the type of error people sometimes make when joining two independent clauses is called a comma splice. A comma splice is when people will not use commas at all, or they place the comma on the wrong place. Okay, so make sure that you pay a lot of attention to that, my friends. Okay, in our next topic, I have right here subordinate ideas. Okay, so this is what I have. Writing is more effective when it flows smoothly. Therefore, try eliminating short, choppy sentences whenever possible. You can do this by using subordination in a variety of ways. Example, I have an example right here of a sentence that is short and choppy. It says, Carla ran for the bus. She missed it. Okay. Now, the correct way to do this, or what will be the way we can say this sentence is better if this is the fact, it will be, although Carla ran for the bus, she missed it. You see that word although Carla ran for the bus, it gives me the feeling that Carla, at least she tried, or she somewhat or somehow tried her best to run for the bus, yet she missed it. But her intention was to run and catch that bus. You see how it changes the feeling of the two sentences? Now, if I use that first example, I can just say, "Well, Carla ran for the bus," but that leaves it open to for questioning. Did Carla care? Did Carla try hard enough? Did she ran fast enough? It all depends really on the message that you are trying to show or that you are trying to project. Sometimes short sentences are more direct and more efficient than long, overworded sentences. So um, although you want to use elevated words on your sentences, try not to use too much or try not to overdo it, okay? But also make sure that you're going to use enough words to try to project the ideal of, or the feeling of what you're trying to project with your sentences. I hope I explained this correctly. Okay, my friends. Uh, I hope that you enjoyed this class. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope to see you guys on the next lesson. Bye bye.
Launch code. Access granted.